We live in a society where we are made to believe that sex is an anti-God activity. Nearly all of us, especially the religious people, believe that there is something about sex that is not connected to God. And not just how and when you do it, they feel like sex itself is a dirty act in the sight of God. That's stuff that not many people have been bold enough to address. And when you talk about holiness and worldliness, people are simply telling you about God and sex. Because when they talk about anything worldliness, they talk about sex-related stuff. And you are wondering, why always sex? When you have been told to not talk about a particular thing for a long time, and when you begin to talk about it, it sounds like you are committing a crime or something. Because your mind have accepted that talking about it is not right. If talking about it is not even right, why is doing it right? Why is it that everybody thinks that God is against sex? God is not against sex. Sex is not a problem. The problem is that we don't have the right education concerning it. So how does God feel about sex? How does God see you when you have sex? The devil did not create sex, God did. Not only that, the greatest gift God ever gave every living being is the ability to have sex. So, it is about management of what you have. And not the best education has been given concerning this forbidden topic, sex. This is God's greatest gift to mankind. It is something that whether you like it or not, you can't do without it. You are either spending your days avoiding it or doing it or thinking about it. Either way, in your day, there is sex in it. You are either being conscious of not doing it or you are thinking of doing it. To a lot of people, the only way God is happy about you having sex is when you get married. To some people, if you want God to be happy with you, don't even have sex at all. It is just like saying, I gave you a gift, and in order for me to be happy with you, I'm telling you, don't use that gift. Does that make any sense to you? But that is what people tell other people when they tell them that in order to be closer to God, they should not have sex. Having sex does not take you away from God. It clears your thought and makes you become closer to God. When your mind is beclouded with the thought of sex, you can't think about God. The state where you need sex, a situation that we call sex starvation. When you are in that state, you can't think of any other thing than sex. And at that moment, the last person you want to think about is God. So you see, lack of sex actually takes you away from God, not when you have it. When you do it the right way, with the right person, when you should, you have the freedom of thought to invite God to yourself and be closer to Him. Of course, God is always with you because He's everywhere. But you cannot make the most of His presence if you have guilty conscience overshadowing your thoughts. When you feel guilty about things, you can't move closer to God. And that guilt is not coming because you actually did anything wrong. It is usually coming because you did something that you have been made to believe is wrong. Now let's dissect this and get a little bit of knowledge concerning this forbidden subject. Now let me point your attention to certain things in the Bible that you may not have noticed. 1. God did not create marriage. 2. Go and check the 10 commandments. Find out everything in the command that God gave to Moses. You will not find thou shalt not commit fornication or thou shalt not fornicate. Coming down to the time of Jesus, he also did not mention any word of fornication. He didn't talk about it. But in today's Christianity, in today's world, we consider this sin to be one of the worst sins you can commit. When I begin to make my studies in the Bible and I begin to understand a lot of things, I begin to ask myself, if this is as serious as people make it to look, why didn't God talk about it? Why did Jesus not talk about it? Does it mean they forgot something that serious? I mean, there's a part of the Bible that says every sin that a person commits is committed against God, but the only one that is committed against oneself is the sin of adultery or fornication, all those sexual sins. Now, let me educate you about that. Anything called sin must be against God. There is no sin against yourself. You can't sin against yourself. So that part of the Bible has been well and truly nullified with this statement. Sin can only be against God. You are not God. So you can't sin against yourself. You can only sin against God. When it is sin, S-I-N, it is against God. And when it is against God, it is because it is against God's commandment in vogue. Let me educate you about something you may not have noticed. And people will tell you, God does not change. God does not change. He is the same today, yesterday, and forever. You are getting it wrong. God is the same today, yesterday, and forever, actually. But what these people are telling you is that God's standard does not change. It does. God changed his standard of relating with people every time. During the time of Adam and Eve, the only standard was do not eat that fruit. Every other thing they did was not considered sin until they ate the fruit. During the time of Moses, there were laws. You are not committing any sin until you go against the laws of God that God gave. There are ceremonial laws, the ones that Moses gave. Those ones are called offenses, not sin. They are not sins. God will not strike you dead because you did something that Moses said you should not do. He will strike you dead because you did something he said you should not do. So sin is primarily against God. Sin is only against God. When Jesus came and he was yet to die, there was still this commandment involved, which is law of Moses. Until Jesus died, the law of Moses was still in vogue. So everything Jesus said within the time that he began his ministry and he ended it before he died was in accordance to the law of Moses. Jesus' duty then was to make them understand the severity of the law, to make them understand, no, you can't fulfill this law. There are a lot of instances where he did that. And there was a place where he said, your righteousness must be more than those of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. He said, even if you look at a woman lustfully, you have committed adultery. That was not Jesus giving a new law, as some people make it to be. He didn't give a new law. He was only making the people see the severity of that law, that you can't fulfill it. So because you can't fulfill it, accept me. I will fulfill the law for you once you accept me. You just accept me. That's what he was saying. Imagine Jesus saying, I have come to make your yokes light. And he's telling you that you don't even have to commit adultery before you commit it. By seeing and imagining in your mind, you already did. Is he making it heavy or making it even lighter? That answer is left for you. But Jesus did not make it heavy. He's only giving you instances to make you see that you cannot even fulfill the law by your might. So he is the one coming to fulfill it on your behalf. Believe in him and you are saved. Now let's get back to the original topic, sex. Why didn't Jesus talk about fornication? The answer is straightforward, because God did not talk about it. And why did God not talk about it? Because God did not create marriage. What is marriage? Marriage is the coming together of two people to live together and make a family. If you say God created that, oh, probably you will be right. But the coming together of two people has been sealed by certain things that God did not do, which is why I told you God did not create marriage. When God created Eve, he brought Eve to Adam. They came together and started making babies. Let's agree that was marriage that God created. In this age, can you just pick a woman on the road, start giving birth and start making babies, and you say you have been married? You have to pay dowry, you have to go to court, and sometimes you even go to church to bless your marriage, right? That is when it is certified that you are married. God did not create those ones. You see, what God created is the fact that two people can come together, agree within themselves to be together for as long as they want. So when people talk about fornication, they are talking about two people who got involved in sexual activities when they have not paid dowry, go to church and get blessed and all of that. That is what fornication is. In short, some people believe that even if you paid the guest dowry or bride price, whatever that is called, if you pay it and you have not come to church, you are still not married. So what you are doing, if you engage in any sexual activities, is still a sin. You see, those things are man-made. God did not say that. God did not approve dowry payment. God did not talk about church marriage. He did not talk about marriage certificate. These are human inventions. God did not create marriage. He talked about adultery. And I'll tell you why he actually talked about adultery and not fornication. You know, when Jesus came, they asked him, what is the greatest commandment? And he said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, and another which is like unto it, love your neighbor as yourself. Anything that contradicts this is a sin against God. Let's analyze it based on sex and fornication as it may be. Two people coming together to agree to be with each other and get involved sexually while respecting each other's space and staying committed to each other. Have they committed any sin? Have they gone against that law of Christ? But a person who went ahead, whether to sleep with somebody that you know is another person's girlfriend or wife, you have committed adultery. What you did is that you have just done to another person what you don't want to be done to you, because you well knew that this person has already been with this person and you still went ahead and did what you have to do. That is adultery. And God was against that, because it goes against what it means to love God. How can you love God when you have not loved your neighbor? To love your neighbor means doing to your neighbor as you want to be done to you. If you choose to be with a person, maybe you got married to that person in whatever way you do, and another person came to slay with that person, will you be happy? No. So this is why God went against that. But God did not go against two people coming together and mutually agreeing to be with each other. And whether they have sex or not, God is not against it. The reason He is not against it is because it's an agreement between the two people. Whatever you agree here upon on earth, it is also been agreed in heaven. God is not against it. But Jesus said, who God has joined together, let no man put them asunder. That's an analogy. It didn't actually mean God joined anyone together. But whatever you agreed upon is been agreed upon too. Your covenant here is sealed here and there. So if you agree that we are being together, it's because you are being together. God let it go. Now, if that is the case, and another person now come between you, that person is trying to put asunder. This is what God goes against. God is not against your sexual activities as long as you are not hurting people with it. You are hurting people with it when you go and lay with another person's wife, when you go and lay with another person's girlfriend that you well knew is another person's girlfriend. That is you going against the law of Christ, the only law. Do unto others as you want to be done to you. Will you want somebody to sleep with your own wife or your husband? Do you want it? It is not the sex that is the problem. It is how you do it that is the problem. Everything that God gave are for the use of mankind. They are for our good. But the moment you didn't learn how to manage it well, it becomes a problem. It is management that is the problem, not the thing that was given. How do you come out and say boldly that you want to start sleeping with other people's husbands? Does that sound right? Is that how to love your neighbor as yourself? That is on that basis that you will be judged, not on the basis of whether it is an adultery or it is fornication. No, it is on the basis of, do you want that to be done to you that you will be judged? Whether it is an adultery or fornication is inconsequential. But do you want that to be done to you? If you don't, then you are left to argue it out with God if you have that chance. So, you see, God is not against sex. If God was against all these things, Jesus would not make friends with Mary Magdalene, who was a known prostitute. And I was saying at some other time with some of my guys, and I said, did you know that Jesus did not actually tell her to stop? Did Jesus tell her to stop being a prostitute? No. Did she stop? We did not know. God didn't have a problem with what she was doing to survive. But He would have had a problem with how she was treating people. Does that mean that God approved prostitution? Well, you won't hear that from me. He did not, or He did. That's not something I want to talk about. What I'm saying is that focus on treating people right, not on how they have sex, where they have sex, and all of that. No, it's not. God is not against sex. God gave sex as a gift. So it's not against you having sex with somebody that you choose to have it with when you are of age. You see, the thing of age is about management. That's not a sin against God. It's about management, because you can destroy yourself when you get into these activities when you are not of age or you can't manage it. You are not destroying God, you are destroying yourself. So it has nothing to do with God. I think we should have teachers who will tell you these are the things that you need. You are not doing it for God. How do you even tell a kid who doesn't have any idea of God about fornication? Tell that kid about doing something that is beneficial to him. Then why that thing is not going to help that kid. Not talking about some God that he doesn't or she doesn't know about. Because it's not going to make any sense. By the time the child is becoming of age, he or she begins to do those things you ask him or her not to do. Because he or she's got no idea of who your God is. But if you are telling the kid, this is why you should not do it, and it's applicable to that kid, the kid can relate based on the advantages and the disadvantages, then it's okay, and the kid will be able to say, okay, I'm not going to do this because I don't want to be hurt. Then when they start growing, you start relating them with God and all of that, what God wants. At that time, they have an idea of who God is. So teach them first the idea of God before you tell them what God wants them to do. Let them know who God is.